Thanks, Clive. Good evening and welcome to Friday's Look North. Our top story tonight. Anger from the local council leader about government plans to house asylum seekers at yet another Wakefield hotel.
We've heard absolutely nothing from them until the last minute when they decide that yet another of our hotels is going to be full of asylum seekers.
We hear from a business owner who has had just a few days to move her salon out of the hotel. Also tonight, a mother is looking for answers following the killing of her son over a year ago in Sheffield. York is the place to be for Rugby League this weekend. Both men and women's teams are in quarter-final Challenge Cup action. And this never happened in Last of the Summer Wine. Find out why Compo and Nora Batty are both dangling off the side of Home Firth Parish Church.
And it's been another lovely warm day. Just take a look at these blue skies over Holgate Windmill there this afternoon. We do see a little bit of cloud bubbling up here and there, and there will be a bit more cloud in the forecast over the weekend. Tomorrow looks nice, but some changes during Sunday. I'll be back later in the programme with all the very latest.
Hello there, the weekend has come around again, but quite before we clock off, we've got another very busy edition of Look North coming your way. Starting with this, the leader of Wakefield Council is opposing a Home Office decision to use another one of the city's hotels to house unsupported asylum seekers. It comes as a highly critical report about the asylum system has been released by the government's spending watchdog, saying plans to make the asylum system more efficient are not on track. Now, there are currently 51,000 asylum seekers in temporary accommodation. That's right across the United Kingdom. According to the Home Office's own figures, that costs the government around £6 million every day. And for those waiting for an initial decision on whether they can claim asylum or not, 75% now have to wait more than 6 months. That's compared to just 43% 5 years ago. With our top story tonight, here comes Corinne Wheatley.
A hotel in the village of New Miller Dam, south of Wakefield, soon to be a temporary home to asylum seekers. The Saint-Pierre shut its doors this week. A big surprise for many in the local area, including Jane, who's run her beauty business from the hotel for the last 2 years. She was told on Monday that she had to be out by Wednesday.
I mean, it's been very, very stressful, as you can imagine. I think, things change, businesses change. I'm absolutely fine with that and we can evolve. But what I'm not okay with is 2 days' notice. It's just not doable, unfortunately. This has put me in a really difficult position. I still want and have to pay my staff. I still want and have to service my clients. But I feel like it's been given absolutely no consideration whatsoever. It's been not even an afterthought. I don't even think there's been any thought at all.
The council says that several other hotels in Wakefield are already used for asylum seeker accommodation and the area can't cope with more. They've been lobbying the government for a rethink since March with no response.
They don't take into account anything about the local situation. And they just bring more asylum seekers in. It's affecting our services. We are playing our part, and we've filled most of the hotels in Wakefield now are full of asylum seekers, and I just feel there has to be a balance.
The Home Office says it has a statutory obligation to provide accommodation for asylum seekers who would otherwise be destitute while we consider their claim. We are committed to making every effort to reduce hotel use and continue to engage with local authorities as early as possible whenever sites are used for asylum accommodation. But the council says the government didn't consult with them properly, and Jane certainly didn't get any advance notice. She had just hours to set up a temporary base in her home.
We had to kind of find a solution really for a very short term just to be able to get the clients in. I mean, I had to cancel a lot this week, but I've obviously got ladies who are going to weddings, getting married, going on holiday, so I didn't want to let them down.
Apart from some staff and security, the hotel was quiet today. As it stands, asylum seekers are set to move in within days. Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North, in New Miller Dam near Wakefield.
Now, our other main story tonight, the family of an Italian man who was murdered in Sheffield over a year ago have appealed for information to help catch his killer. 34-year-old Gianni was found dead in a park in May last year. He'd been stabbed. Today, his sister-in-law gave an emotional plea for help, as Kathy Booth reports.
Carlo was like a bomb, full of energy, cheerful, willing, and his dream was to open his own pizzeria, to be the pizza chef.
Carlo Giannini, a much-loved son and brother, was murdered 13 months ago. His body was found on a path in a park in Sheffield. He'd been stabbed. Back home in Italy, his family were notified by South Yorkshire Police.
I regret to inform you that Carlo was found dead this morning in a park. Just darkness. We only heard the blood-curdling screams of Mum.
The pain remains fierce and raw, and the murder remains unsolved.
Carlo is known to have entered Manor Park here at this entrance at around 1 a.m. on the 12th of May last year. 4 hours later, his body was discovered further along this path. Now, what happened in that 4 hours remains a mystery to this day, leaving his family in Italy desperate for answers and for justice.
Police still want to talk to 4 people captured on CCTV that night.
I think there are potentially witnesses or people that know what happened, and so would really urge those people to come forward. Even if it's a bit of information that they may have seen or think is irrelevant, might be a key piece of the jigsaw that could move our investigation forward.
The police admit that the investigation is barely any further forward than when it started, leaving the family more desperate than ever to find justice for Carlo.
What's your life and your family's life been like since you lost Carlo?
Our life has changed since then. It's not longer the same, not anymore. A part of us died with him.
Kathy Booth, that report. Now, you're watching Friday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme. Roaring back to Sheffield, the tiger from Life of Pi returns to the Steel City stage, and the Look North studio. Now, some other news headlines for you. A man has been seriously injured after a car hit a lorry on the A1M in North Yorkshire in the early hours of this morning. It happened at the junction with the A64 near Tadcaster. North Yorkshire Police say they were pursuing the car at the time, so they've referred themselves to the Independent Office for Police Conduct. The motorway was closed for much of the day, but has since been reopened in both directions. Bus drivers in Leeds will strike this weekend after a pay offer was rejected by their union. First Bus, which runs most routes in the city, says it had offered a 12% increase, but the Unite unions turned it down, and 800 drivers will now walk out indefinitely. Bosses hope half of the services will still run, but on a much reduced timetable.
The people that suffer are the passengers, and I would encourage both parties to get around the table and come to a resolution. It's really important that people are paid properly and their terms and conditions work for them. But also, it's really important that we understand how hard it is to get people onto buses in the first place, and that strikes can only make it more confusing.
A social media influencer has spoken out about the dangers of editing photos online in order to give the illusion of a perfect body image. Emily Ratch has more than 1 million followers on TikTok and Instagram. She says she used to alter her own images, but it affected her mental health, and now she's warning others against it.
I started by retouching my photos to try and fit in with all these fitness influencers, and yeah, like the social media, we're talking maybe like 2017 here, was very different to what it is now. It was very posed, retouching, glamorous lifestyle. It is really scary to think that people have access to these editing apps. I think influencers and content creators and anyone in the public eye really needs to be accountable.
If you are editing your photos to look a different way, or you're living this lie, it is exhausting because you're kidding yourself.
The message that I'm trying to give to younger women, to just embrace who you are, like, embrace your flaws, share your body, share your cellulite, share your stretch marks. People are so quick now to call it out, and I think that's where we've moved as a society now, where we don't want that anymore.
Let people see the real you, and I promise you, you will feel amazing.
Thanks to Emily for sharing her experience with us. Now, I'm joined by Miranda Area, who's a mental health lead within the NHS. Miranda, it seems once upon a time, touching up a photograph was the preserve of high-end photographers working for Vogue or something like that. Now we've all got filters on our phone. Good thing or bad thing?
I think the thing is that it's not really either good or bad. We have to take the focus off the filters themselves here as being the issue, because we have an issue here around the nation's mental health, really. You know, that people aren't recognising their inherent worthiness as they are. So we have a nation of people who unfortunately have low self-esteem, and that's the real thing that we need to focus on here. We don't want to treat the symptom, which is the people wanting to use airbrushing. We want to treat the cause.
So filters have become a defence mechanism then?
Absolutely, and people, it's sort of like, yeah, defence. People want to protect themselves, but by doing that, by modifying ourselves solely for the approval of others, sadly, we abandon a part of ourselves, the authentic truth of who we are. So we live within that rejection wound, and it feeds our fear more than heals it. So we want to really teach people here. I believe that the cure lays in us educating our youth, educating adults as well, you know, to bring forward more of our authentic selves.
Miranda, it's always great to speak to you because you're so passionate about the subject. You talked about education there, but almost it's a bit like an addiction, isn't it? Think, oh, I don't look so good there, or I don't look so good there, pop a filter on it and now we can publish. How do we break that cycle?
We have to recognise that everything we want is on the other side of fear. And sometimes our vulnerability is the most powerful thing we can bring forward. It's what the world needs more of. The world needs more of our authentic selves. And that requires that we step out of the comfort zone. And, you know, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the taking action in spite of fear. So allowing ourselves bit by bit to let those defences, as you say, down, that is really where we start to shine. That is where we truly enter growth and healing and courage, and we let go of that fear of rejection.
Miranda, wonderful to speak to you. Thank you very much in time for your time.
A pleasure, Tom.
Thank you. Now, organ donation can be a very difficult conversation following the death of a loved one, but for those on the receiving end, it can save and transform lives. But health experts are warning there's a shortage of tissue donations, especially eyes. Relatives are often reluctant to consent to their family members' eyes being removed after death. In Yorkshire, we have the lowest number of eye donations in the country. Heidi Tomlinson reports from Pinderfields Hospital in Wakefield, where the transplant team has been chosen to focus on tissue donation.
Can I ask you to rest your chin there for me, please?
Patricia Bullock's vision deteriorated dramatically due to a rare eye condition known as Fuchs dystrophy.
You can see this area. The clarity is not there at all.
It was actually like being blind. I couldn't see anything, I couldn't see colours, I couldn't even see like a dog hair on my clothes. It was that bad.
She lost her eyesight, she was falling all the time. It's not something I'd like anybody to go through.
So right there you can see how clear this cornea is. As a comparison, let's show you the other eye that is awaiting transplantation. As I bring this close, you can see the cornea is not clear.
A corneal transplant was the only answer. A successful operation in the right eye last year was transformational.
If you asked me if I'd want to win the lottery or have new eyesight, I'd pick new eyesight. Because with that, if you haven't got your eyesight, what have you got?
The cornea is a clear outer layer at the front of the eyeball. It helps to focus light rays onto the retina. A transplant becomes necessary if the layer is a poor shape or if its lining fails. Patricia now needs a replacement cornea for her left eye.
This eye is fantastic. I can see everything.
That's your transplant eye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this eye is like, I can only just see that cup.
6,000 people are currently waiting for a corneal transplant in the UK, but demand far outweighs supply.
Out of the 12 organ donation regional teams, the Yorkshire team have historically always had the lowest eye donation rates in the country.
So why is that?
People feel scared, I think, about what their loved one might look like after they've donated their eye tissue. But actually, the orbit is reconstructed and the eyelid is closed, so the patient just looks like they would if they hadn't donated their eyes.
Well, the easiest way to donate is to register your decision online, but 10% choose not to consent to their eyes being taken after death. It's the body part most people feel uncomfortable with giving up.
But eye donation gives people quality of life.
I think I'll have a latte then, please.
Patricia can read, drive and walk the dog. She knows her donor was a 72-year-old woman. She thinks about her every day.
She'll always be my angel for giving me my sight back.
Heidi Tomlinson with that very moving report. Wonderful stuff. We don't go anywhere because we have a tiger about to roam the studio, but first, a giant of sport instead.
Yes, I'm not the tiger. It's a big weekend for York Rugby League. They'll host a double header at the Community Stadium on Sunday with the men's and women's teams both in the quarter-finals of the Challenge Cup. The York Knights are the only non-Super League team left in the men's competition, while the women York Valkyrie have won every match they've played so far this season.
Getting their hands on the silverware. The Challenge Cups are on display at York's Community Stadium this weekend, which will host a quarter-finals doubleheader on Sunday.
The pitch is lovely here today, sunny day. I'm really excited for Sunday. You know, it's really good chance for us as an individual and as a club.
The goal line defence has to be set well here.
The York Knights are the only non-Super League team still left in the competition, and their game against Lee promises to be tough.
Yeah, I think everyone sort of wrote us off, you know. No one thought that we'd still be in the competition at this stage. So to be in a quarter-final, the first one for the club since 2004, my personal first experience of actually playing in a Challenge Cup final, I think it's massively exciting.
You never say never, you know, and in cup competitions, you know, the unthinkable is not unthinkable. It has happened. We've seen Challenge Cup upsets in the past with lower league sides overcoming Super League sides, so it's not unthinkable that'll happen, but it'll be a really tough ask on a tough afternoon on Sunday.
But it's the women who are up first, and they're riding high in Women's Super League Group 1. They've won every game they've played so far this season.
I think we've got a really good bunch of girls, and it's not just the talent on the field, it's a group of girls we're willing to play for each other, a really cohesive group, friends on and off the pitch, and I think that really does help in terms of performance on the pitch, that and the fantastic coaching and the backing of the club that we receive.
You're only 2 games away from Wembley. Are you thinking about that yet?
I think I'd be lying if I said that anybody wasn't thinking about it, especially with 2 matches away from it. But yeah, I think the highlight of anyone's career would be to play at Wembley, and for us to finally be given the opportunity, we're looking to take it with both hands.
There are big ambitions for this club, driven by owner Clint Goodchild, who wants to see the Knights in Super League.
York's a rugby league community. You know, we've been in the Challenge Cup final in the 1930s, you know, won Yorkshire Cups back in the 30s and 50s, and it's not something new, it's just been a while. So we just need to get it back on track. You know, whether we succeed or not, I don't think that's the point. It's what we're willing to give, and I'm willing to give everything.
Everything to give and everything to win, with a place in the Challenge Cup semi-finals at stake.
And the Leeds Rhinos and Huddersfield Giants women are also in action in the quarterfinals this weekend, so keep an eye out for them. Now, Leeds Rhinos prop Zane Tetavano will run the Leeds 10K on Sunday, just weeks after suffering a stroke during training. It was caused by a hole in his heart, and he's due to have surgery soon. He's been cleared for non-impact aerobic training, but not contact sport. He hopes to return to that before the end of the season. But in the meantime, he's raising money for the Leeds Children's Heart Surgery Fund.
Kind of made me think of, you know, I'm quite lucky, you know, all the nurses in there at the LGI, and, you know, and the doctors kind of got to me quite quickly at the right time in that space of time where, you know, things ended up a little bit, probably a little bit worse off, you know what I mean? So I just want to give back, to be quite honestly, you know, taking away all the football side of things, I just want to give back anything that I can off the field, you know what I mean? And just a small part of, you know, me just giving back to the community, and, you know, I'm quite optimistic and, you know, quite hot-headed too, so I'll try to carry on.
Good luck to him and everyone running the 10K this weekend. Now in Speedway, Sheffield took all 3 league points on offer last night, winning 51-39 at home against Ipswich. The Tigers maintained their 100% home record so far this year. The win puts them ahead of the Witches in the league table in 4th place. And just time to quickly mention that amazing century from Joe Root.
Absolutely, you
in
can't
the
miss
Ashes.
it
Yeah.
It's a
incredible.
great start to the Ashes today, hasn't it?
Yeah, his 30th century in Test match cricket, so an incredible achievement already.
Thank you very much indeed, Sally. Go for us, Joe. You bring it home for us. Now, last week we had a mermaid in the studio. This Friday, the production team have outdone themselves. We have a tiger. Have a look. This is Richard Parker. That's the name given to a Royal Bengal tiger in the book Life of Pi. Now, it's about a boy and a tiger who share a small lifeboat together in the Pacific Ocean. The book, of course, famously turned into a film, but a few years ago, before the pandemic, also a stage play at Sheffield Crucible. Since then, it's hit the West End and in Broadway, winning multiple awards, not to mention lots of Tonys last weekend. In August, it comes home to Sheffield as part of a new nationwide tour. Earlier today, we met the puppeteers bringing this amazing creation to life. This is Tom, Romina and Daisy, who worked together to bring the puppet to life. First of all, have you been working together long? Because it seems like you must have been working together forever to bring that level of coordination to the Richard Parker the Tiger.
Yeah, quite a long time.
Yeah. We were all in the West End production of Life of Pi, which was on for 15 months. So, yeah, we do know each other very, very well now.
It's quite a cramped space, isn't it, under the Tiger?
It is. It's intimate.
No pressure, but this show has been amazing. When it came to the Crucible first time around, it was so popular, it transferred to the West End and to Broadway. It's won Olivia's, it's won Tonys. What do you think the magic of the show is?
It's a universal story. It's epic. It's a masterpiece to watch visually, but it's also a story that everyone can relate to, no matter your age, background. And I think that's a really unique thing to see in theatre now, to have a diverse cast, various art forms all on stage in one go. And it's accessible to everyone.
The tiger is the essential component, and I guess it's important for the audience to be sucked into the story that you guys almost disappear in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, that is one of our best compliments, to say that we disappear. So we really have to ask the audience to use their imaginations, because we are very present as puppeteers, but through our skills of puppetry, we do kind of disappear. Yeah, I think that's one of very, very magical things about the show.
Tom, how does the character change? When it was at the Crucible, you presumably didn't just lock it in once and that was it. It must evolve every night.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. It does evolve every night. And although there are 3 of us puppeteers here, we usually have 7 or 8 puppeteers, and we change roles. We can be head, heart, hind, all changing. So you really get to live every part of the tiger. And every single night it will be slightly different. And I think the actors love that as well, because it is live theatre. And if the tiger's a bit hungrier that day, it will go for you.
OK, so be warned, don't sit on the front row. Daisy, as I say, no pressure, but lots and lots of awards. It's coming back to Sheffield because it has been this triumph for Sheffield theatres. Where else do you go?
It goes to Leeds, Bradford, across the whole UK, doesn't it? From like tip to toe. But it starts in Sheffield because that's where it was born. That's its home, really, isn't it?
Spiritual home.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll have to leave it there, but the best of luck with the tour. It is a great show.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing that again, certainly. Now, here's another show we love on Look North. Compo and his friends were known for their daft stunts and crazy antics in Last of the Summer Wine. And this weekend, believe it or not, they're going to carry on the tradition. It's part of the Home Firth Festival, and Compo and Nora Batty will be flying high, all in the name of entertainment, of course. Abby Jaola has been along to meet them.
This is Nora Batty and Compo like you've never seen them before, high in the skies above the town where Last of the Summer Wine was filmed for decades.
Compo and Nora are a double act, so I think it's just working together and having a good time up there. I think that's really key, because we love watching that as an audience between them two, and that's why we keep coming back to watch, Last of the Summer Wine.
It's what Home Firth is probably most famous for. The world's longest-running sitcom first hit our screens 50 years ago.
You just make the place look untidy. I'm going.
This weekend, Compo and Nora's romance reaches new heights as they dangle from the church tower to perform for visitors at the town's annual arts festival.
It's similar to abseiling, an aspect of climbing, but we'll pick specific heights and spots on the tower to create choreography. So it's like we're dancing in the air, and it's called vertical dancing.
The weekend-long festival will feature music, street performances and a festival parade, but this aerial performance will be a highlight.
Been, touch and go right up until yesterday, really, in terms of, is it all fine? And we've had a structural engineer, we've had the church look at it, we've had to have permission from the church, we've had to put scaffolding in there so that we're not touching the church masonry. There's obviously a clock up there and a louvered window. So it's taken months. I think we started on this October last year.
If you want to catch this sky-high summer wine performance, it's on Saturday, but events run all weekend. Abby Jaola, BBC Look North, home Firth.
I think Abby's just discovered a lost episode of Last of the Summer Wine. Let's hope Nora Batty doesn't get wrinkled stockings halfway up that church tower. And speaking of wrinkled stockings, Paul Hudson? No, sorry, Keely Donovan.
My mum used to call me Nora Batty when I was little. I never quite understood it at the time, but thanks, Mum. It's been another lovely day.
Scorchio.
We've got one more, and then we've got some changes to come as we head through Sunday. More on that in a moment. Let's have a look at your pictures that have been coming in. The River Nid looking lovely with blue skies in Knaresborough. The second picture is, it looks lovely, doesn't it? Not a cloud in the sky along the Scarborough seafront this morning. And we did get a little bit of cloud bubbling up, some fair weather cumulus cloud, and you can see that on the Leeds-Liverpool Canal here, or above the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. We are going to see a bit more cloud through the course of the weekend. Do keep your pictures coming in to the Weather Watchers page, or we're on social media as well, at Keely Donovan, Keely.Donovan on Instagram. So, yes, there are going to be some changes to come through the course of the weekend. Sunday looks like the day of change, but a lot of uncertainty in the timing and the extent of the thunderstorms and rain, which we do have a weather warning for. Tomorrow, though, it's another nice day, the odd light shower, but largely dry with some warm spells of sunshine once again. And then low pressure gradually moves in from the Atlantic, so we are expecting some thunderstorms on Sunday. As I mentioned, a lot of uncertainty in the timing and the extent. At the moment, or at least the latest model, doesn't have the thunderstorms becoming more widespread until Sunday evening. So some places may well get away with a largely dry day, but there will be more cloud. Talking of cloud, here's the satellite picture from earlier. Barely a cloud in the sky. You can just about make out the small amounts of fair weather cloud that bubbled up through the course of the day. And we did reach 27 degrees at Bramham, 26 degrees at the top of the Vale of York. It's fine overnight. I don't think quite as cool as last night, but temperatures could still drop back into single figures down to around 9 or 10 degrees, and a fine, clear night to come. Let's have a quick look then at those high water times. In Scarborough at 18 minutes past 4 and at 8 minutes past 4 in Whitby. So there may be the odd shallow mist or fog patch to start the day tomorrow, quickly burning away. It looks like a lovely morning, plenty of warm sunshine. Into the afternoon, we might just see a little bit more cloud moving in, but it will be medium and high level clouds, so it shouldn't spoil things, but it could just be thick enough for the odd isolated shower. Very few and far between, most places having a dry and very warm day once again. Always that little bit fresher with an onshore breeze, 25 or 26 degrees. Thunderstorms gradually breaking out on Sunday, becoming more widespread through Sunday evening. A lot of uncertainty though, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed, Keely. It does look nice for one more day, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
That's going to be sitting outside Sid's Cafe in Home Firth having a cup of tea in that weather. Thank you very much. That's as far as we go from all your 6:30 team. Bye-bye. See you at 10:25 tonight.